Let's say you have a dog, as pictured here, myself and my childhood dog, Sebastian. Now, you like to let this dog go out in the backyard so he could do his business, get some fresh air, but there's a little spot in your backyard where the dog can escape. And initially, you're going to be like, trying to train him, be like, hey, don't go over there, dog. But really, eventually, you're going to have to look in the mirror and be like, hey, I probably need to fix this problem and, make it so that the dog cannot get out. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself. Well, RGT, a dog is not as smart as a person. But to that, I say, is that really the case? I mean, just scroll through Twitter and you could see a lot of people that are probably not as intelligent as dogs. But I say that analogy to say, eventually, you have to take responsibility for things like this. But Nintendo never seemed to get that memo because this company has everything always leak early for their games. Yesterday, we talked about the situation with the Nintendo Switch Online playtest, which was allegedly a new feature. I'm not sure how a new game is kind of a feature, but maybe it's going to be something that is integrated in there. We talked about the leaks, and it's just funny to me because they had 10,000 people sign up for this to get in. You had to be a Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack member. But they also said, hey, you can't talk about this. You can't talk about what's going on here. And they honestly thought that of those 10,000 people, nobody was going to talk. Of course, the download for the program, which goes live, I believe, tomorrow on Wednesday for people who got into the play test, the link for the download went up. And of course, there was information with it. And people immediately took pictures, screenshots, talked about it, all of this sort of stuff. And Nintendo got mad at that. They said, no, that's a bad boy. Like, not thinking that this was going to happen, creating a bunch of secrecy for something, when in reality, you probably didn't need to do that. I feel like if you would have came out and said what this was initially, right from the jump, you wouldn't have this aura of mystery to it. But it goes beyond just those pictures and those screenshots. Because like I said, people were able to download it for access on tomorrow, on Wednesday. But the download has actually already been data mined completely. As in, people know like what you do in the game and what sort of stuff you unlock. There are literal soundtrack music tracks, full tracks from this game that are now available online to listen to before the playtest even launches. Now, you can get mad at the dog, but at some point you have to look in the mirror and realize, hey, why does this keep happening to us? Why does this keep happening to us and literally only us? So if you want all the information on that, I'm not going to spoil things, but it's already all over the internet for your consumption pleasure. But this goes beyond just the Nintendo Switch Online playtest. Because Nintendo's next big game is, of course, Mario and Luigi Brothership. And I'm gonna give you a guess as to what happened with that. The game comes out in around 2 weeks or so, but I'm going to give you a guess as to what's going on with that. Anyone? Bueller. Oh, what's that? I think I heard someone say the game has already leaked online, and guess what? You are 100% correct. Because physical copies started popping up. People were taking pictures of them. We learned that, like, the developer behind the game who worked with Nintendo, we learned that it's an Unreal Engine game. And it's kind of funny because some people are like, oh, that's why the game looks so good. But I don't know. It depends what version of Unreal Engine you're using. And that doesn't an engine doesn't dictate whether a game looks good or not. I think the game looks blurry. It looks like an N64 game with anti-aliasing cranked all the way up. But I guess maybe once I get it in my hands, it'll look a little bit different. But people got access to these physical copies. And then guess what? The game dumped online. So try to avoid spoilers, I guess, kids, for the next 2 weeks, because Nintendo's latest game has already dumped online weeks before the game is going to come out. So people are already playing it. People will probably already have beaten it by like tomorrow. Maybe they're super dedicated and they really enjoy the franchise. So once again, what does Nintendo do in situations like this? They try to go after individuals instead of turning that mirror and looking at it and being like, well, why does this keep happening to us and only us? You don't hear about this sort of stuff with PlayStation. You don't hear about this sort of stuff with Xbox. It never happens to those companies. And really, it's kind of weird because Nintendo didn't really have this problem on the console side of things until this generation. You know, this kind of stuff wasn't happening right off the jump with like the Wii U, and you could say, well, it's because nobody cared about the Wii U. But the Wii U didn't have issues like this. The Wii ended up getting issues like this, but much later on down the road as far as being able to modify your Wii U system. But the Nintendo Switch is more of a hybrid system. You know, it has that handheld thing, that handheld side to it. And Nintendo handhelds have always dealt with stuff like this. And in the pre-internet era, you know, what are you going to do? I guess you could do system revisions and stuff like that that quietly happen to try and thwart that, like they kind of did with this system. But still, you now have emulators. You now have PCs that are able to run your games at full capacity, and in some instances, run them better than your native hardware does. And it's a situation where you have to take accountability for this at some point in time. You have known that this has been a problem. If you simply put something in a game, and I don't know how you would do this. Okay, I'm not an expert in anti-piracy measures. And I'm sure somebody can come along who is a programmer or a game developer, someone like MVG or something, could probably come along and explain, you know, how you could put an anti-piracy measure into the game itself that doesn't require something like online or something like that. But this is a billion-dollar company. I think they can take a little bit of time to figure out why this keeps happening to them and then thwart the problem instead of going after people who are exploiting the problem. Because at the end of the day, the people that exploit these problems, the people that exploit, you know, leaked games and playing them early, they make up a very small fraction of the consumer base at the end of the day. Like, they do. Most people, like, if piracy was so rampant for Nintendo Switch and it was such a massive, you know, popular problem, you wouldn't see games selling 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 million plus copies. It's a very small thing. But the fact that Nintendo always likes to bring attention to it and go after these emulators and go after these websites instead of just looking in-house and being like, hey, this is a problem. How can we stop it? It just makes me wonder. It just makes me wonder, like, do they even care about stopping the problem? Do they really care about fixing something? Because all you have to do is figure out how to fix that spot in your backyard. And Sebastian isn't running out of there. So why can't Nintendo do the same? I'm just posing questions here. You have the whole thing about morality and humans and stuff like that, and people should know better and stuff like that. Like, bro, look at the world you live in. Look at the world you live in. And you're expecting people to just abide by the honor system and stuff like that. Like, times are tough out there, man. You know, people are going to do things that maybe you wouldn't do, but maybe you're in a better situation than that person is. I'm not advocating for piracy at all. You know, if anything, I would like to see Nintendo actually take a stand and fix the problem itself. Because at some point in time, it has to go back to them. So, anyways, I'm just kind of rambling now. But I think this is an interesting topic. Because like I said, PlayStation doesn't deal with this. Xbox doesn't deal with this. It's only Nintendo. It's only Nintendo. You made a system that came out after the PS4 and the Xbox One, and those systems have not been fully hacked yet, but your system was hacked in a matter of weeks after release. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You know, obviously, this is something that if it's not addressed in the Switch 2, I don't think you can care anymore. I don't think you can care. You know, you could do your thing, but if people are going to pirate stuff and get early access to stuff and be able to play it on their computer, you know, at higher resolutions and higher frame rates, I don't think you can necessarily care, because it's clear that Nintendo doesn't care. Let me know what you think of this, though, in the comment section down below. Are you going to be checking out the online playtest? Are you checking out Brothership early? You filthy pirate, get off the sloppy seas. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell notification as well if you don't want to miss uploads. Buy the Art of N64 Wrestling Games book. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.